Hey guys, how y'all doing? So this video is going to be a little bit different. Different than my other videos as far as I'm not talking about guns, I'm not talking about ammo and flashlights and other stuff like that. Basically, I have different hobbies and different things, and one of those hobbies happens to be coffee. Okay, I love drinking coffee. Love that stuff, probably too much. And as I get into drinking coffee, I've been drinking it for a while, but as my family, they've always drank a lot of coffee, and my brother started getting into roasting his own coffee beans. And at first I thought that was very extravagant and way out there, and like, who has the time and the facilities to do that and the equipment and all this stuff. And he got to talking to me about it, and it's actually very, very simple. And then I drank his coffee, and I was like, holy cow, this is really good stuff. Because I had been drinking this stuff. I think I showed it in another video, just very, very briefly. Cafe Bustelo. I can't drink this stuff anymore. I've been spoiled. I've been completely spoiled into drinking good coffee, like real coffee, okay? So what do I mean by real coffee? Is like coffee that I get it from Berman Coffee Traders, and it's green. It's unroasted, unprepped, like it's clean, but it's just unroasted coffee, okay? And when you have coffee like that, you can keep the green coffee beans for 100 years, no joke. You can keep it for years and years and years, and it won't go bad, okay? It's like keeping rice or whatever. As long as you don't let it get moldy or whatever, it'll keep forever. The thing is, when you roast it, then you only have like a few weeks to drink it, and then it starts to get stale and all that kind of stuff. So basically, this is not a history lesson of coffee, actually. I'm just going to talk about how I roast it and the process that I do to do it. Because I have some friends, and they've kind of gotten into roasting coffee. I kind of talked them into some stuff, Anyway, you know how that works. You always have those friends that talk you into stuff. Well, I'm that friend that talked them into making coffee. And instead of telling them how to do it over the phone or whatever, different kind of things like that, I figured it would be interesting just to show how I do it. And let me throw a caveat in there. This is how I do it, okay? Like a lot of my videos and a lot of opinions and things that I have, they're my opinions, they're my ways of doing things. Other people could have different other ways, and they could be way better than my ways. But this is how I do it, okay? So basically, it's very, very simple how you roast coffee. I'm going to angle this down a little bit so you can see the counter. Basically, all you're going to need is a hot popcorn popper, hot air popcorn popper, and I prefer the kind that has little vents in the bottom. Then I'll show you why later. But basically, there's two different kinds. You got the vents in the bottom. I'll throw in a picture of another one that I got, and it just has a single. It's like a hair dryer in the bottom center. It just has a single hole where it shoots air. This circulates the air. The other one doesn't. All right. This one also has an on and off switch. The other one doesn't. It's just a plug-in. This is gonna melt. You gotta kind of fix this sometimes, but it really helps. This cost about 20 bucks, okay? So you're 20 bucks into the hole. You get your coffee beans, and I get them, like I said, from Berman Coffee Traders, okay? And I think I get them for about $4 a pound or something like that. So that's generally cheaper than what you're gonna be spending for getting coffee, okay? So what I do, all right, is we'll make sure that's turned off, because we're going to go ahead and angle this thing a little bit for y'all. Sorry. Okay. Basically, I'll plug it in. Okay. And I don't have a measuring system per se. I basically I'll pour in, those fins are about maybe an inch high or an inch off the bottom. I'll pour them in a little bit higher than that. If you overfill the can, or the pan, whatever you want to call it, the coffee will not mix very well. If it doesn't mix very well, it'll burn. You don't want burnt coffee. If you fill it too light, too little, then the beans will spin really, really fast, and they'll basically cool themselves off. That's what I think. I don't know if that's actually what's happening, but it seems like they're cooling themselves off, so it just takes a long time to roast the coffee. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to go from start to finish on this thing. I'm going to explain it real quick, as fast as I can, and then we'll do it, okay? Because when it's on, it's kind of loud. You probably won't be able to hear me. When you turn it on, all right, hot air is going to start going. It's going to start blowing really fast. and it's going to start mixing the coffee, okay? You want the coffee to be moving, like I said earlier, so that it does not burn, all right? If it burns, it's just nasty. But as it heats up, the coffee beans themselves, they'll kind of expand a little bit, and you'll get chaff, and the chaff blows off. A lot of people do it outside. That's why I keep the little top on mine, and it just blows everything into the sink. Very easy cleanup. That's the chaff. As it keeps getting hotter and stuff, they'll start turning like a tan color and brown, and they start getting darker, a little bit darker, and then you get into the crack, okay? And this is where a lot of people, I think, get intimidated by it. The first crack is when, I don't know exactly the chemical stuff that's going on in there, but the first crack is whenever the coffee is done. It will snap, it will crack like popcorn, kind of. You'll definitely hear it. And it'll start out real slow, obviously, just like popcorn does, where a couple of them are hot enough, and then a lot of them get hot, most of them get hot enough, and then it'll die back off. Okay, that's your first crack. You can drink your coffee, you can pull it off after your first crack, and you'll be good to go. I like to go to a second crack, okay, and the second crack is a lot lighter, or the sound is a lot lower. It basically sounds like Rice Krispies, just these little snaps, okay, and the same thing will happen where it'll start out, some of them will be ready, then a lot of them, then most of them, then it'll die back off. I like to pull it out about halfway through that second crack, and that will give you like a medium dark roast, okay, and you'll get a lot of good flavor that way. On the second crack is when you'll see your oils come out, okay. If you see coffee beans that have oils on it, those have gone through a second crack and they've released those oils. And I didn't know this until my brother told me, and then I read it some other places. That second crack, it actually, I don't know if it's the caffeine that gets released or whatever, but it is less caffeinated than your first crack roasts, okay? So if you want really potent coffee, then pull it out right after that first crack, okay? Because it has to crack first, but then pull it right off after that first crack, and you'll have the most caffeinated coffee that you can get out of whatever beans that you have, okay? So that's basically it. I pull it out, like I said, on the right after it really starts going on that second crack, and then I'll have a medium well roasted coffee, medium or a dark, whatever kind of roasted coffee. All right, so we're gonna get to it, and I'll probably speed up the camera, but I'll annotate the exact times so that you can see how long this actually takes. Okay, so let's do this. Alright, so now you can kind of start hearing the beans getting into their first crack. Now they're kind of dying off. They kind of went through that major portion where most of them are cracking, and now it's basically died off. So now you can pull it out and have a good, like a light roasted coffee, all right? And it would be good. But I like to go, like I said earlier, I like to go to a second crack where you'll get a darker flavor. Alright, you can hear them now starting to snap. Sounds more like Rice Krispies than last time. Now I like to angle it back and look through here, and you can see when they're starting to get oils. Sorry, look through here. When they're getting oils on them and stuff like that, then you really know it's about time to pull them off. And when they have a consistent dark color, that's when I like to pour them off. Alright, so I turn it off. This is very hot. You pour them into a pan. And the thing you gotta do here, you gotta cool them off relatively quick, because they'll continue. You might be able to hear it, yeah. Kind of. Well, they kind of cooled off, but they'll continue to crack as long as they're still hot. All right. Just kind of mix it around, cool them off, and you're done with the roasting part. And as you look at that, you probably see some of them, like here's some of them that have some shiny parts on them, you know, so you can tell they definitely went through a second crack. They didn't burn. One thing that I read is that you look up the inside, or the middle of the bean, there's a split down the middle, and if all those are burnt out and there's no light parts in those beans, then you've burnt your coffee, and you don't want to do that. But, you know, you can see a lot of these have those little, you know, lighter lines down the middle. So, now comes the hard part, okay? And the hard part is basically, you gotta wait. Because every good thing, you gotta wait, right? Or something like that. There's a saying, something to do with that. I don't know what gas it is that these things produce. I forget. It's like carbon dioxide or something like that. I don't know. But if you were to roast this coffee right now, if you were to grind it and roast it right now, it would taste very strange. Okay? It wouldn't taste like really good coffee. It'd be really weird. So what you got to do is basically, I'll put them in little mason jars, or I just got these from IKEA. And you don't want to seal it right away at first, because it needs to breathe. It needs to get that gas. That expels all that gas. It needs to get it out. All right. And so generally, what I've been doing is I'll just put them in these mason jars, right? And I'll just put the lid on to keep stuff from getting in, but it's very loose. All right. So that gas, as it builds, can just push its way out. And you want to wait. Generally, a good 12 hours is probably fine. That's what and I'm no expert on this, but this is what I have found works perfectly fine for me. Is if I roast it in the morning, I could drink it by that evening. Okay, if I roast it at night, you know, then by the next morning, I'm good to go. So if you pick a day of the week, whatever Saturday you have 15 minutes to roast your coffee, I'll generally do two of these, which would make one whole mason jar. All right, and that's gonna last me about a week, depending on how much I drink and how much other people in the house are drinking and stuff like that. It'll last you something like that. I just did a whole bunch to last me for a good little while. This will last a couple weeks, but it's getting colder outside, so we're drinking more coffee. So it's gonna last me a good little while. Anyway, I hope that was helpful for y'all. I hope it you know, maybe opened your eyes to how the coffee, you know, is roasted, and how you can do it at your own house with simple $20 hot air popcorn popper, and you'll get amazing coffee. Okay, it's very hard to mess this up. The only real way you can mess it up is if you pull it out before it cracks, and it'll taste a little bit like peanut butter, or you roast it and roast it and roast it until it won't pop anymore, and you've basically burnt the coffee into charcoal. Okay, and then yeah, it's gonna taste like dirt. It's gonna be nasty. But those are really the only two things you can really mess up. It's really fun to experiment with it, to get a really light roast, see how you like that, because it will change the flavor of coffee. You get a lighter roast of this stuff, and then you get a darker roast of it, it's a bolder flavor. It changes stuff. It's fun. It's fun. Some people find this stuff really fun. Some people are like, I just go to McDonald's and buy coffee. So for those people, this isn't for you. But for those that like to do their own stuff, I highly recommend this. So anyway, hope it was helpful for somebody. Hope y'all enjoyed this. It's different than my other videos, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. So y'all be good, you be safe, and we'll see you in the next video.